In this episode, I'm going to show you how to warm up for squat day.
Get up and get down, get up and get.
I want you to have the capability to fully move the way your body was designed to, right?
Jump of the head, I'll take you back to where my problems lie. In trouble, younger daughter done some that made my mama cry. Out to the heavens like I bless him, for I know he's lost. Caught in a trance and this manic depression settled in. Living in the fantasy.
Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Dr. Horschig from Squat University, and this is episode 5 of the Ask Squat U show. Summer has finally hit Kansas City. It's about 93 degrees today, but that's definitely not too hot for a show. Let's get into today's show.
Mike Sullivan 70 asks, what do you do to warm up before squatting? And what do you think are a few essentials that everyone should do before squatting?
All right, so today we're going to be talking about warming up for squat day. Now, a proper warm-up can be one of the most important parts of your workout because if you do it correctly, it can allow you to perform to your max potential during your training. Now, there's 3 essential parts to every single warm-up that you should be hitting. The first one is mobility. The second is priming your body through purposeful stability and coordination work. Then you need to follow that up with barbell warming up. You don't jump straight to your actual training. Today I'm going to show you how to perform all 3 ways. Now the first part to any mobility warm-up is going to be soft tissue mobilization with a foam roller or a lacrosse ball. Now, why do we foam roll? Well, foam rolling has been shown in research to improve your mobility without any decreases in performance. Regardless of what other people have told you, foam rolling will not hurt your ability to produce force and power during your training. Now, there's a ton of different options on the market today, so how do you know what type of device is right for you? Well, let's talk about first what it does. Well, what we need to talk about is the density first of the foam roller. You'll get some that are nice and white usually, and they're very squishy. Well, the more dense an object is that you're using for soft tissue mobilization, the more it changes the tissue. So if you have a very squishy object, it's not going to do as much nearly as something that's a little bit harder or something that's very hard like a PVC pipe. So the more dense an object is, the more effect it's going to have on improving the mobility of your soft tissues. That's your muscles and your fascia, which is basically a spider web of connective tissue that runs through and envelops your muscles. Now, you'll also see a number of people using something like this that has a lot of nubs or a lacrosse ball. Now, what that does is while it may have the amount of density as something harder like this, it also shortens up and decreases the surface area contact it has with your body. Now, when something is just as dense but has a smaller surface area, it again can have more effect at creating change in your tissues. So you need to be able to find what works best with your body. For some people, using a nice and squishy foam roller can actually create a lot of change if their tissues are very stiff. However, for others, they may need to have a much harder or more dense device to be able to create that change. What you don't want to do is go crazy. I have literally seen CrossFitters take a PVC pipe and wrap chain around it. That is going way too crazy. You want to be able to find something that creates change, but does not send you into the pain cave and start you crying every single time you jump on it. You want to be smart about your soft tissue mobilization. You also don't need to be spending a ton of money. Something like this costs about $50 to $70. Now, for some people, that may be within their price range. However, you can also go down to your Home Depot or Lowe's and cut a PVC pipe for a couple of dollars. You do not need to go crazy on how much you spend on your devices. So let's talk about now how to use these. So I'm going to show you today how I use a foam roller to warm up every single time I squat. Now, the main areas that I concentrate on myself are going to be my quads, my inner thigh, in my calf muscles. Those are areas, especially with a lot of standing or sitting throughout the day, that can become stiff and decrease your mobility to get into good positions during your training. So first, what you're gonna do is jump down on your stomach. Now, if you want to get on one side versus the other, you can just lay like this and wrap your other leg on top. You're going to roll slowly up and down the length of your thigh until you find a spot that hurts a little bit, maybe it's a little tender, and you're gonna sit on it for a couple seconds. You then can work it deeper into that tissue with small rhythmical motions. You can even flex your knee up and down nice and slowly as a little bit more advanced treatment. What you do not want to do is get on this and roll nice and fast. That does not do anything. In order for efficient mobilization of those tissues, you need to go nice and slow and put in enough force to be able to create some change. So after a little bit of in and out like that, I will then take it, and let's say I'm gonna work on this right leg now. I'm going to get my leg up at about a 90-degree angle from my body, and I'm gonna roll on the inside part of the body, working on those adductors. Specifically, the adductor magnus is a muscle I really want to work on. That's a huge muscle on the inside part of your thigh that can help with creating hip extension out of the bottom of the squat. So it's very important that we work on its mobility and its ability to actually move well. So you're going to roll in like this, and you can also, like I said, create small movements in your leg. Basically, you want to search out those stiff spots. I always say, be a mean massage therapist yourself. Find those spots that are a little tender and work them out for about a minute. Now, I'm also going to jump down and I'm going to get on my calf muscles. I'm going to be like this with my other foot on top, and I'm going to slowly, again, roll up and down, being able to find those spots that hurt a little bit. I can also tack it down with my opposite foot on top and pump my ankle, maybe do some circles. Basically, you want to find up and down that entire tissue which areas are a little bit restricted and feeling stiff, and we want to work on those. That will help improve the mobility of those tissues, the way that they move, and allow you to get into better positions. So that's foam rolling. Now, if I were to use a lacrosse ball, a lot of times I'm trying to get in some of those hard to reach areas. Specifically, in the side of your hip, you have your TFL right here and your glute on the side. Now, if these glutes aren't functioning properly, we talked about in Ask Squat You Show episode 1 about IT band pain. A lot of times that TFL can be over functioning. So you can use something small like this to get into that area and really create some good change. So you'll just roll like this on top and really search out some of those spots that are a little painful. Go into the pain cave, but again, do not cause yourself such immense pain that you're going to be crying. Work on those areas for about another minute, and then you can jump on off, and you'll notice a pretty big decrease in the tension that's in that area. Now, once I'm done with my soft tissue mobilization, I'm then going to perform a couple stretches to hit some stiff areas that can really help improve my technique. The first one I'm going to show you is a half kneeling stretch for tight hip flexors. Now, especially if you've been sitting all day, this area can get really, really tight and hinder your ability to get through full hip extension, which is very important during your lifting. So what you're gonna do is get into a bit of a kneeling position like this. Now, for a lot of people, what I like to do is put you into a bad position first, which will then help you understand what a good position is. So what I'm gonna have you do is put your hands on your hips. You're going to over-exaggerate a bad anterior pelvic tilt. So you're gonna really arch your back and push forward. Now, this is obviously not a good position, but we're gonna do the opposite of it to feel a stretch. What you're gonna do is tuck your butt under, squeeze your butt muscles as hard as you can, stand nice and tall so you don't wanna lay back. So brace your core, squeeze your butt, pull it under, and this is gonna bring out a good stretch right in the front of your hip. So again, this is what it's gonna look like. We're in a bad position, and we're gonna do the opposite. Tilt the pelvis under, squeeze the butt muscle, feel a good stretch in the front of the hip. I'm gonna hold this for about 10 seconds, and then relax. That is the proper way to stretch a tight hip flexor. A lot of times what you'll see people do is when they feel tightness here, they'll try to jam their hip forward like this. Now, while you may feel some stretch in the front of the hip, a lot of times what you're doing is you're jamming your hip into the actual front of the hip acetabulum or the hip socket and creating a ton of mobility that we don't really need in the front of the hip capsule. That can lead to a lot of issues down the road. This stretch, where you take the hips and pull them under, actually affects only the muscle and doesn't adversely affect the front of the hip capsule, which is what a lot of people are doing. Next, I'm going to go into a stretch called the world's greatest stretch, and it's called that for a reason. You'll find out shortly. So what you're going to do from this position, because we just did the hip flexor stretch, you're going to put your hand down on the ground. You're going to pick your back leg up straight. So I don't want you to jam your hip in the ground. You're actually going to squeeze your butt muscle and try to pick that up straight. Now from here, what you can do is take your opposite hand, drive your knee out to the side, keep your foot flat on the ground, and then from here, squeeze your butt muscle. So you're going to contract as hard as you can, and then relax. This contract relax technique is called PNF, proprio-neuromuscular facilitation, and it's a great way to turn on some muscles and improve your mobility. So again, you're going to be in this position, contract as hard as you can, and then relax. And you're going to do this a few times, really searching out spots that may be a little stiff. From here, you're then going to bring the upper body part into the stretch. So you're going to take your hand, you're going to drop your hand as low as you can. You're going to feel a good stretch in the upper back, and then you're going to rotate up and outward. So from here, rotate up and out, and then back down. So you're actually getting not only some lower body work, but also some thoracic spine mobilization along with it. That's why it's called the world's greatest stretch. The last mobility exercise I'm going to show you is also a blend into the next section, which is purposeful stability and coordination movement. So what you're going to do is grab a weight. You can also use a kettlebell for this. You're going to hold it up and perform a deep squat. Remember, your toes relatively straight forward for body weight movements. Now, the reason we use a weight is because it offsets your body weight and allows you to really sit into a deep stretch. You don't have to worry as much if you don't have amazing mobility or balance to get down here. Most people should be able to take something heavy. This is about 22 pounds or 10 kilos. Maybe you need to use a little bit more, but this should be able to help you sit down and get a really good stretch. Now, this is hitting the hips, and then I'm also going to show you how to use it for the ankles. So from right here, I'm sitting down, I'm feeling a stretch. I then will drive one knee over my toe until I feel a really good stretch in the back of my calf muscle. I'm going to hold that for about 10 seconds and then back. And then I'm going to rotate to the other side. Drive the knee over the toe, keep the heel down, feel a really good stretch in the back of the calf, 10 seconds, and then back. Now, from here, you can also do some of that contract, relax. So from here, I'm sitting down. You can even pick this, your elbows up, and you're going to contract your butt muscles, squeeze, 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 and then relax. One more time. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Drive your knees out to the side. Keep your big toe in contact with the ground. And then back down. Now from here, you may want to be sitting down here for about 30 seconds to a minute. How you change this and make this more of a stability coordination exercise is you're going to take it and use it into what I call an isometric hold. So from here, we've done our stretch. Now we're going to raise up a couple inches, squeeze our knees out to the side, really squeeze our glutes, and prime our glute muscles. So from here, we're going to drive up. Squeeze, 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 and back down. My foot is in a good stable position. My big toe's jammed in the ground. I never want to drive my knees so far wide that my big toe pops off the ground. So, again, one more time, you're here. We're going to activate our glutes to drive us out of the bottom of the squat. We're driving up. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze as hard as you can, and back down. If you're doing this correctly, your butt muscles should be on fire. Maybe do about 2 sets of 5 of those exercises. Now that we've gone through our mobility work, we then need to transition into what I said, the stability and coordination work to prime our body to perform at its best. The one thing I like to use a lot is a band. Now you can find these in complete circles sometimes. This is a TheraBand that I cut and tied together. They make different resistance, so start off with something that you can handle. But you're going to start off with your shoes off because I also want you to prime your foot stability. Your foot should remain in an arch with your big toe jammed in the ground the entire time you squat. This is called a tripod foot. You have 3 positions I want you to think about. The base of your heel, the base of your big toe, and the base of your 5th toe. So all those spots should be in equal balance the entire time you lift. What you're going to do is put a band around your ankles. You're then going to get into a small single leg squat by first hinging your hip backwards and pushing your chest forward. This is going to engage your posterior chain, which is the strongest muscle of your body, called the powerhouse of your body for a reason. So it's going to look like this. You're going to hinge on one leg, knees in line with your body. It's not falling in like that. So we're working on priming dynamic knee control by engaging our hip. We're then going to kick out to the side and back. Now, I want to keep my chest straight up and down. And if I do this and kick out to the side and back, my hip on the side is going to feel like it's working really good. It's not necessarily the muscles that are kicking out to the side, but the muscles right here that are designed to maintain stability in my knee and the rest of my body all the way up. They're the ones that I'm focusing on right now. That's called your glute medius if you want to be exact. So it's hinge, kick out, and back. Don't let that foot collapse over or the knee collapse in. Also from the front view, try not to twist to the side. If you need to, if you have really bad balance, you can hang on to something like a foam roller. In the meantime, while you improve it, your end goal should be to do this without holding on to anything. Now from the side, this is what it's going to look like. We're going to brace our core. We're going to hinge back. We're going to kick out and back. Again, from the side, I don't want to see any collapse like this I don't want to see that knee drive forward because then we're not efficiently using our glutes. It's hinge back, brace like this. The whole time I'm bracing like someone's going to punch me right in the stomach. And then I'm out and back. For something like this, I would do 2 sets of 10 to 15 reps on each leg. And if you're doing it correctly, the outside of your hip, your glute medius, will be on fire and primed correctly. That when you squat is doing its job to maintain your knee in a good position so that you can produce efficient force and power. If you want to, you can also do another band exercise called the lateral band walk. Now you're going to take this and again, place it around your ankles. You can get into a small squat, again by hinging back, knees in line, and you're going to take some steps going sideways and then back. Obviously, if you have much more room, I want you to do this for about 20 feet or so. Now, one of the biggest questions I get is, does the position of the band matter? And the answer is yes. If I have this band around my knees, there's less distance from the knees to my hip joint, which is my point of emphasis, which means it's creating less torque than if I have it all the way down at my ankles. So the position of the resistance dictates how much force is going to be placed at the joint of emphasis. So with the band around my ankles, I'm making it much harder than if I had it around my knees. Now, a couple points of emphasis. Again, tripod foot. I'm grabbing the floor with my feet, creating an arch, jamming my big toe into the ground. During my step, I'm keeping my knee in line with my feet. I'm not reaching out like that. I'm also worrying about my back leg, that when I take my step, hip, knee, foot, this back stayed the same. I didn't take a step and lean my entire body because then I just forgot about this hip. So it's hip, together, and back, just like that. I would do this a couple times down and back until I feel my glutes working really hard. That's lateral band walks. So after we're done with our mobility and our coordination work, it's then time to pick up the barbell. But before we do, we need to warm up with the bar alone. Even the most elite athletes don't jump straight to putting weight on the bar. They do a couple sets with just the bar alone to prime their body to move as efficiently as possible. What I want to talk to you guys today about is warming up with your first set without any shoes on. Now, if you have extreme mobility restrictions, this is going to be tough. However, for many people, this is going to be a great thing to help you prime your foot stability, get a feel for the bar, how it's moving, and see if there's any restrictions in any other parts of your body that may be holding you back from performing at your best. So what you're going to do is put the bar on your back, do a couple squats where you're feeling for your feet engage and tighten up against the floor and your glutes turning on. Get under the bar, set your feet in a good stable position, feel for grabbing the ground, your big toes jammed into the ground. Then you're just going to squat down all the way. From here, I want you to sit. You can move around a little bit. Feel your glutes turning on in this position. From here, you can do a set again of the contract, relax, up, squeeze, and then back down. You're getting a feel for what your body should feel like as tense as possible in the bottom of a deep squat. Back up, and it's time to put weightlifting shoes on. The last aspect then of our warm-up is a purposeful, sport-specific warm-up to what we're going to be loading our body with during our training. What you're going to do with the barbell is perform a couple squats, but with a very slow descent, feeling for those muscles turn on at the right time with a couple pauses in the bottom, and that's going to prime your body to perform at its most efficient way possible during your training. This is what it's going to look like. Get under the bar. Once you've established your good stable position with your toes slightly pointed out for some, you're then going to engage your glutes first. Remember, if we're doing a high bar back squat, this is a very small hip engagement. Hips back, squat straight down. Pause, feel for those glutes turning on. If you need to drive your knees out to the side, drive your big toe to the ground, and drive up. So again, slow descent with the hips engaging first, straight down, knees in good alignment. Here, I'm squeezing my glutes, driving with my hips and chest up at the same rate. So there you have it. There's a simple 3-step process for an efficient warm-up before your workout. It's all about being efficient and effective with the time you have for your warm-up so you can move as well as possible and perform to your greatest potential. If you can do all those things that we just said, you should be able to get them done in about 15 minutes. You should not be spending 45 minutes or more during a warm-up. I hope you guys liked today's Ask Squat You show. If you did, please subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends. Before we go, question of the day. How long do you sit in the bottom of a deep bodyweight squat every single day? Tell me your answer in the comments section below. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. As always, happy squatting.
Hometown hero on the road doing shows and sold out arenas. You can call me what you want, but you won't ever slow my dreams up. This is the vision of a dreamer. I seem to